Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Doing some good work on the new save file here. What about Lazarus? I love the first few runs with any character. So easy. 76H4D3FR. I don't have a good bit about that. You know, we had the legendary Snoop Dogg bit yesterday, or in the last video, and everybody went, NL, what are you going to do to top that? And I said, don't you worry. And now I got myself in trouble here. Check this out. So we do it like this. Die. Respawn in this room. Grab this. Totally fine. So we got a nice little damage boost already. Many people out there will say, NL, isn't a single demon heart a little bit of an outrageous reward? Seems like you'd probably wait for something a little bit more potent before committing to the Dark Lazarus run. And the answer to that question is, his name's not Dark Lazarus, he's my son, okay? I've told you this many times in the past, and I will tolerate very little disrespect. You know what's weird about being a man? Don't talk about this too much, you know? But it's true. This is it's not on my mind like all the time. But being a man is very weird. Because if someone disrespects you in public, there's a social conditioning that, like, you have to fight them or you don't respect yourself. When really, what I do, and this is not based on anything that happened, like, recently, but what it is that I actually just respect myself so much that I don't care about what some weirdo on the street is saying. And moreover, why would I open myself up to the possibility of either being, like, arrested for assault or alternatively getting my butt kicked by somebody, which just adds insult to injury. Like, I was thinking about it earlier today because I was in the shower, and I think when most people are in the shower, and I do this all the time as well, they have, like, a fake argument in their head with someone where you just own them completely. And for some reason, I was having an argument where, like, I honked at a guy in my car, and then he, when we got to a stoplight, was, like, knocking on my window, like, you want to go, bro? And I was going, no. And then he was going, you don't want to fight? You worried I'm going to kick your butt? And I was saying, yes. Yes, I'm worried you're going to kick my butt. Why would I open the window so you could throttle me in the face once or stab me or something like that when I already got away with the honk? The honk was not like, yo, I want to fight because you drive bad. It's like, yo, bad driver, drive better because you're a danger to everybody out here. That's my new fantasy, is like apparently somebody physically threatening me in public and me being like, nah. We've talked about it on the show a few times. It's like, you know, I think if it's just you, it's a little easier to be like, nah, I'm not going to fight. But if somebody disrespects your woman, that's when you gotta throw down. So, you know, I was thinking about, like, what if somebody disrespects Kate in public? I guess at that point, you have a responsibility to be like, what did you say? And then try to be physically intimidating without actually throwing a punch, because in the modern era, you could still, like... I mean, all I'm saying is one bad fall on a curb hits his head on a fire hydrant or something like that, or I hit my head on a fire hydrant, it's all over. Wouldn't it be better to just be like, hey, that dude's a poopy head? Let's just go home and watch something on pay-per-view. That's my perspective, but, you know, I've got to adhere to the social norms as well. I don't care about being disrespected in public. I'm very, very, very well respected on the internet from time to time. It's a darn shame that doesn't always translate to real life. Again, this doesn't really happen. It doesn't happen very often. You know, there was a bus anecdote where a gentleman on the bus referred to me as an anti-gay slur because I was sitting down in the handicap and elderly reserved seats, priority seats. I've said my piece on this many times. I'm more offended that there are people who think that you can never sit in those than I am at what he said to me in the first place. I didn't know these people existed. If the train is full and every priority seat is empty, and nobody's around that wants to use the priority seats, sit in the priority seats. Please don't let your anxiety get the better of you. That's what they're there for. Now, the problem with sitting in the priority seats is that if someone that appears physically, you know, disabled, or an elderly person, or somebody carrying a bunch of stuff, or someone with a baby, you know, if they get on, you have an obligation to say, excuse me, here's my seat. You don't even have to say, would you like my seat? Because if you say, would you like my seat, they might go, no, that's okay. You have an obligation to stand up, point to your seat, and say, excuse me, here's my seat. And then they'll probably take it and go, thank you. And if someone comes up to you, no matter how they appear, even if they appear to have the body of an Olympic athlete, if they go, excuse me, can I have your seat? You have an obligation to give it to them. And I'll explain why. You're not the arbiter of whether or not, you know, that person is able-bodied or not able-bodied well enough to sit in a regular seat or stand up, okay? Wouldn't you rather be the person who is like, yeah, I got out of the way for the person who lied about their, you know, ability to stand up on the train, than be the person who was like, I don't think so, dude. What's your problem, you know? That would make you a jerk 99% of the time. For the one time you catch a dude who's just being kind of a jerk, you would be the jerk the vast majority of the time. But please, my perception is very Curb Your Enthusiasm-y sort of bit here, but my perception on the handicap stalls and the handicap seats are the same. If you have to use them and nobody else is around to use them, use them. They should be, you know, last pick, but use them. Don't luxuriate in them, and then offer them up whenever necessary. Now, what's different, you can't do that with a handicap parking stall. That's one situation where you just gotta say, I guess it provides a good dichotomy, because you can say that about the seats. Are the seats like a parking spot, or are they like a bathroom stall? I'm just here to tell you, and I don't get to be the arbiter. You know, you should talk to other people, figure out how they feel about it. But if you're the kind of person that would wait in line when you have to poop in a public bathroom because the only stall that's open is a handicap stall, stop clogging up the bathroom. I'm being sincere. You haven't earned it. You haven't earned your defecation. Go poop in that bathroom. If somebody needs it, I'll shout to you. I'll be like, hey, hurry it up. Somebody needs to use the stall. Okay? I'm not afraid of doing that, especially in desperate times. But if the line at the airport bathroom is, you know, 5 minutes longer than it needs to be because of your politeness, I'll sneak by you. I'll sneak by you and use it myself, because that's what it's there for. And I'm going to tell you, I've earned it as well. At the risk of self-aggrandizement, I worked in an office the summer between my first and my second year of university. There were about 12 women who worked at the office and one man. The man was me. By law, they had to have a washroom for men and a washroom for women. Many, many times, I was unable to use the washroom. They were private stalls, basically, because the woman's washroom was occupied, and another woman had been like, I'm just going to use the men's washroom. And what did I do? Human rights complaint, oh, the Better Business Bureau, that's not okay? This is not okay, I should say? No, I mean, you know, if anything, you know, below board had taken place, sure, but I just said, you know, when you gotta go, you gotta go. There were pregnant women in the office. If you want to take a dump in the men's toilet, doesn't bother me. I'm willing to wait. So I've earned it, is what I'm saying. It's my bathroom. I let people use it when time is in need. So I'm going to use the handicap stall on occasion. Where are we going with this? Anyway, the point is, there's only one kind of pill on this run, and it's one makes you small. That's like, I just don't understand fighting, I guess. And I've never understood it. I think it's a kind of like a smart guy thing, though. And I know I'm not calling myself smart. Whenever I say smart guy, it never means like a guy who's smarter than the population. It means a guy who thinks he's smarter than the population, which is very dumb. Why would you get down on the meathead's level? You know what I mean? If you say something and it irritates a meathead and he goes, you want to fight about it? Why would you ever say yes? The odds of you... I'm not taking lard, by the way. The odds of you defeating Kirsten Dunst's boyfriend from the first Spider-Man movie, if you look like Tobey Maguire, are probably pretty low. why don't you just continue to verbally eviscerate him, remind him of his broken home life, you know, poke at the insecurities that he uses machismo to cover for. I just don't understand why you would ever put your own physical safety on the line when you could just mentally destroy them from the inside out with a series of very well-placed barbs. You know what I mean? Or just, like, be nicer. But if that's not an option, you know, as polite as possible given the current circumstances. The Canadian motto. Hey. Anyway, how's the run going? It's going, better than the last one. I like giving the measurement in a way that's easy to contextualize. It's going better than the last one. Now, the last one finished very strong. Guppy, you know, lots of damage bonuses and et ceteras, but this one's real good too. The only problem as I see it is HP. HP's a little low. We'll be tempted to trade for deals with the devil. Anti-grav can have some consequences. I hate this room, dude. But everything else is looking just fine. The caveat is that it could go wrong pretty quickly, but I'm hoping we're not gonna, you know, get to that point. Now, if we wanted to not get to that point guaranteed, we probably could have said no to Bob's brain. But it's just, here's the thing. He's fallen on... that was really bad. He's fallen on hard times, okay? Jennifer kicked him out, and she says he just can't handle his explosive temperature anymore, and, you know, he's kind of fallen out of favor at work because people say he's kind of a liability to the company, so I just thought it'd be cool if we could pick him up. I mean, we're doing okay. We can afford to, you know, deal with him a little bit, and then just till he gets back on his feet and, you know, gets his brain back. Or his rotten head back. Homing anti-grav tiers. It's got a certain je ne sais quoi. I'm not saying Peter Travers of the Rolling Stone would give it a 3-star review and call it the must-have synergy of the summer. I think he'd, you know, at least give it a 2.5 and be like, hey, if you're not doing anything else, go give it a chance. Tough one, huh? Not really. Thanks for asking, though. We're gonna move down because there's always the boss rush chance. Dude, I am so... Speaking of must-see movie of the summer, I'm so ready for summer to be over. For the most part, the seasons in this part of the country, they don't mean a heck of a lot. You know, there's like a 20 degrees Celsius shift from season to season. Which is not nothing. I mean, it takes it from like a little hot to pretty chilly. So there's, you know, there's a wardrobe change or two that happened there, but it's not like, you know, in the northeast of the United States or Canada where it's like the summer is like 30 degrees Celsius and then the winter is like minus 30 degrees Celsius. I know you want those in Fahrenheit. That's basically 0 degrees Fahrenheit up to like, I don't know, roughly 95 or something like that. Pretty close at least. I almost remember the conversion formula for them because every programming class I've ever taken in a new language has been like, make a Celsius to Fahrenheit converter. I can't afford to take it. It's like, for Celsius to get to Fahrenheit, you multiply by 9, divide by 5, and add 32. Something like that. Well, let's see, 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So clearly you add 32 to the Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion, right? And then Celsius is like, you multiply it by 5, divide it by 9, and then subtract 32. Anyway, thanks America, by the way, for forcing all of planet Earth to remember that, just to be able to converse with you. And that goes for heights as well, and weights. Really appreciate it. England, if you're laughing at this, please stop laughing. You still use stone. Stone is very dumb. We're so close to all being on the metric system together. And Canada, by the way, part of the problem, we enable it. We know, maybe not any Canadian, but if you ask any Canadian, or many Canadians, especially like younger ones, hey, what's your height? 4'7". What is that in centimeters? 133. They're gonna hook you up. I know my height in centimeters. I know my height in feet and inches. Do I know my weight? No, but that's because weight is harder to remember because it changes. Your height, you know, if you eat too many bags of goldfish crackers, you don't shrink. That's all I'm saying. That's why height is superior to weight. Weight you have control over. Which, if you make some lapse life decisions, you know, find yourself incrementing that number. Anyway, on that note, let's proceed. This run should still be... I mean, the Libra, when we picked it up, it must have hurt us in one direction. I guess we did lose some rate of fire. Yeah, I think so. Because we must have been shooting at 3 before, and now we're shooting at 5. But shooting at 5 with 10 damage is still really great. Just waiting for it to land. Somehow, though, my brain is like 5's not enough. Well, hopefully we'll get a Tears upgrade. But a Tears upgrade isn't worth as much as it used to be. So I was talking about hotels in the last episode. I don't want every NL episode to be hotels, flights, travel, etc., etc. I actually don't travel that much. It's just on my mind because we're going to PAX literally in like 16 hours. Y'all ever use Airbnb? I feel like a traitor because Airbnb is like one of the things destroying the Vancouver, not so much the housing market, but like the rental market, is that investors will buy what it's meant to. If you've never used Airbnb, basically what it was originally intended for is like, hey, you know, when you're on vacation, you're not using your house. So what if you rented your house out to people that could use it when they were on vacation in your neck of the woods, or when they were traveling in your neck of the woods, and you would get paid while you were on vacation. But what it has become instead largely is like, hey, we're illegally operating like a hotel out of a condo. So what people are doing, you know, they're like, I can't find a rental. And they're like, well, have you tried looking? And they're like, yeah, but every single place seems to be unoccupied, and yet there's suitcase-toting tourists in the elevator every single day. Very strange. But anyway, I use it all the time. I'll tell you why. Hotel rooms kind of stink. Apartments are awesome. What do you get in an apartment? First off, it tends to not be more or much more expensive than a hotel room. A few years ago, when we first started using it, it was consistently cheaper, and it was a much easier value proposition. You had a choice. Here's your options. You could pay $300. That's the currency we use up here, by the way. You could pay $300 a night to stay in a crappy hotel room that has like a bed and an old bathroom, or you could pay $200 a night and you could stay in somebody's like luxury condo. Which would you choose? You know, I'm talking usually one nice bed in a secluded room, then like a pull-out couch, and maybe sometimes another bed somewhere else in the house. It's an easy option, and once you split it with the number of people that can, you know, accommodate a room like that, it's really nice. Also has usually at least a decent kitchen, multiple bathrooms on occasion, no noise complaints really from the rest of the units, because not everybody that's in your apartment building is a tourist who's there to party. It's great. Now it's sometimes it can be a little bit more expensive, but you still get more amenities. We're doing it. Pheromones. The only thing that's a problem is that sometimes, you know, when you go to a hotel, there's like front desk staff. I think this is the last time I complained to a company on Twitter that I can remember. When you go to a hotel, there's like front desk staff, so whenever you show up, they go, hey, we'll get you checked in. One time, we went to Seattle, we were staying at an Airbnb, and we're like, hey, we're here, and they were like, all right, well, I'll be there in 45 minutes. And then we just sat in a coffee shop for 45 minutes waiting for the person who owned the place to show up, and then they took like an hour and a half, and I was like, I tweeted Airbnb and was like, hey, man, you know, we're paying you money here for the service, and the service is not being delivered. And then I felt bad because when we, like the next day when we came back to the room, there was like a bottle of wine and a box of chocolates outside. And that's what you get when you go up against a social media maven like Northernlion. I didn't want that, though. You know what? I'm willing to go a little deeper here. Don't take that out of context, of course. I feel weird complaining on social media these days. Just like, there's enough. It was different back before all of social media was, hey, the world's on fire. Back then it was like, here's a sandwich. And then a company would be like, man, I'm taking your $50 and you can't get it back. And you tweet them and it would become like a thing. Now it's like, you're tweeting Toys R Us? Dude, have you looked outside? Things are broken. I don't care that you ordered guacamole and when it showed up you only had one little teacup of it, okay? We got bigger problems. Did you know GoFundMe would qualify as one of the largest health insurers in the United States of America, where that actually is a business proposition? Anyway, the point is, I'm just saying it seems a little petty to, you know, ruin some 22-year-old social media manager's day because you had bad service at Dairy Queen. But back in the day, it was novel, and it felt powerful. I'll have you know, I have 15,000 followers on Twitter. Don't make me mad. I might cost you literally no sales over the lifetime of your business. And then everybody chimes in on Twitter. I was going to go to this restaurant with my party of 800 millionaires, but ever since this, I will never return here. No, you weren't. You live in Laos. I'm just saying, like, there's nothing wrong with living in Laos. I just don't know why you're lying about it. It's weird. We've all been talking about it. And we're like, isn't it weird that he says he's not going to go to this restaurant in Sacramento when he lives in Laos? Ipecac has appeared in the basement. Alright, obviously we're going for it. Like, this one, it's the beauty of these early runs, dude. They're so fast. What is wrong with this guy? He keeps screwing himself over here. What? But why? What's making him go backwards? I actually don't understand. Anyway, that's why I feel like a traitor, because like it's the same thing. You know, when we go to other cities, I use Uber all the time. I consider it such a luxury that people have lived in parts of the world where they've already become jaded with Uber. That's amazing to me, because in Vancouver, we still don't have any ride sharing. And you're like, oh, well, why don't you just use Lyft? No, you don't understand. Taxis, TAXI. Have you heard of this app? It's a really good app. So here's what you do. You don't even need a smartphone. What you do is you stand outside at 1:30 in the morning and you just wait for a yellow car to drive by, and then you hold up your arm and maybe they'll stop and give you a ride to your destination in exchange for a little bit of cold hard cash. And what's cool about it is that it's usually not a single-player game where it's you versus the taxi. It's usually a multiplayer game, so you got to worry about, you know, your positioning, how far out your arm goes, you know, what direction you expect the taxis to come from, etc., etc. So it's a really, really good system. Now, I know if you live in parts of the world, you know, Uber is not the be-all, end-all. It's not a saint, you know. Sometimes there's security concerns about the drivers. There's, you know, what about the people who have bought into the taxi system and now there's such downward pressure on their wages because of, you know, ride sharing undercutting them that they may never be able to pay it back. I agree, these are all problems. You know when those problems evaporate for me is when I have to spend 20 minutes standing outside of a restaurant waiting for a car to come, is when you call them, they just don't come. And trust me, I called. My grandfather, I think I've said this before, it's lore. My grandfather, among many other professions in his life, was a taxi driver. I have great respect for the profession of taxi driving. It's just the infrastructure is really bad right now, when the alternative is that I could, like, just tap a button on my phone and get somebody. And don't get me wrong, I feel really bad when somebody shows up and it's like an $8 ride and they're like, hey, if you want some bottled water, it's there in the back. I'm like, dude, stop blowing you're giving all your revenue to Kirkland. But, you know, If it's customer's choice, it's either that or stand out. I had to, like, we had people here over the weekend from San Francisco, whatever, we tried. Other parts of America, in the world, because they were here for the international. And if we were hanging out late at night and we had to wait half an hour to get a taxi after, you know, eating or drinking, we had to apologize to them over and over. They're like, really? You guys just all stand outside and compete against your fellow citizens for cars? Yeah, that's what it's like up here. It's crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. See ya!